Kia ora. Today I'm reading from my novel, Mrs Battleship. The chapter I'm reading from is Butterfly Tape. One afternoon, my brother, Sean, hit me. The two of us were home alone. He was 8 and I was 5. We had an argument in my bedroom and he hit me. So I chased him. Sean ran through the house with me hot on his tail. He raced into his bedroom and slammed his glass door behind him. Just as my fist was coming down, my fist smashed through the glass. Sean opened his door instantly and we both watched in horror as blood began to cover my arm. I was cut on the wrist, elbow and upper arm. Seeing Sean's fearful reaction, I too became scared. Clearly a plaster wasn't going to fix this. I started to cry. Remembering that little cuts had to be washed, Sean rushed me into the bathroom and put my arm under running water in the basin. But these cuts weren't little and the blood didn't stop running. Sean turned the tap on full to see if that would help. The blood kept coming. "Wait here," Sean said. "I'm going to get Mrs Tantal." "Are you coming back?" I asked. Yeah, he said, disappearing out the door. I had visions of being left there as Sean went off to play with his mates. I watched a constant stream of my blood swirl around the basin and down the plug hole. Our elderly neighbour, Mrs Tantal, came into the bathroom with Sean. She wasted no time, taking my arm away from the tap and wrapping it firmly in a towel. She then picked me up, carried me outside and up Ferry Parade about 400 metres to a small private doctor's surgery. Mrs Tantal pushed through the door and demanded to see the doctor right away. She explained what had happened and said that I needed urgent attention. However, the doctor was reluctant to see me. He was saying things about my family, saying that he wouldn't get paid. Mrs Tantal refused to leave. The doctor wasn't happy. He had patients waiting. I was taken into his office and he looked me over. "He's not going to die," he muttered. "He needs stitches," Mrs Tantal said. "I'm not doing stitches," the doctor argued. "I'll use butterfly tape." "But the scarring will be worse with tape," Mrs Tantal said. The doctor went ahead and taped up my cuts. A nurse followed, putting my arm in bandages in a sling. Mrs Tantal moaned about the doctor the whole time she was carrying me back down the road. When we got home, Mum, Dad and my little sister Katie had only just arrived. Sean was helping them to take groceries out of the car and into the house. Mrs Tantal had a private word to Mum. Mum never liked Mr and Mrs Tantal. She said they were nosy old buggers who should mind their own business. After Mrs Tantal had left, Mum and Dad were open with their anger. Mum said the only reason I wasn't getting a hiding was because of my arm. I was thankful. I remember feeling angry at the doctor. Angry because he had upset Mrs Tantal. She'd only been trying to help. Our house on Heron Island backed onto an inlet of the White Moko harbour, and I used to watch that same doctor riding his pedal boat over the waves. It was a small barge with a bicycle on it. The doctor would get on there and pedal away, taking himself across the inlet. It was his regular exercise. I thought the pedal boat looked like fun. I fancied having a go myself. When I was 11, I did just that. I walked along the shore to the doctor's house and dragged his pedal boat down into the water. I climbed onto the bike and pedaled like crazy to make a quick getaway. I didn't know how the doctor did it, but this boat was not quick at all. It took ages to get anywhere. I'd only just started and I was already getting tired. But I persevered and kept going, taking the boat out into deeper water. When I looked back at the shore, there was the doctor standing on the beach with his arms crossed. "Come on," he yelled. You've had your fun, now bring it back. I stuck my head down and pedalled harder, trying to get away. But though I pedalled madly, the doctor was able to walk along the shoreline and keep up with me. "You gotta come in sometime," he cried, advancing ahead of me on the beach. Stuff this, I thought. The pedal boat was slow and there was no escaping. I turned the boat around and began the journey back into shore. It took forever, and the whole time the doctor waited, walking along with me. I figured that I was going to be in trouble, but I had given up caring at this point of my life. Trouble came no matter what I did. When I finally reached the shore, the doctor was quick to get me off his pedal boat. "What were you thinking, taking my boat?" he growled. "I just wanted to have a go," I said. "Then get your own boat," he snapped. "Don't be stealing other people's boats." "I don't have any money," I explained. "Then ask your parents to buy you one," he said. "They're not going to buy me a boat," I argued. "Well, stay away from mine," he grumbled. He threatened to phone the police. I was more worried about him phoning Mum and Dad, but he clearly wasn't brave enough to go to talk to them. Most people on Herod Island avoided talking to my parents. Stupid doctor, I thought as I walked away, remembering how he had treated me all those years before, as though I was a second-class citizen. The butterfly tape was a helpful tip though. Katie and I were doing handstands and cartwheels in the lounge one afternoon. I calculated wrong and ended up landing on Mum's fancy little coffee table. The table was all right, but my leg smashed an ornamental plate that had been on there. There was a big gash in my leg. I didn't need Mrs. Tantel or the doctor this time though. I knew that I could sort it out myself. I got a towel and wrapped my leg up to stop the bleeding. Once it had stopped, I got tape and wound it around my leg, keeping the cut together. Katie put the table back where it had been, and we got rid of the evidence, hiding and later binning the broken plate and the bloodied towel. We both knew what would happen to me if we got caught. I wore long pants for the next week to hide my leg. I didn't bath or shower. Now and then the wound would start bleeding. I used toilet paper to wipe it. Mum and Dad never noticed. I still have the scars from my wounds. The scars on my arm remind me of Mrs. Tantel, a true hero. She and her husband were both willing to confront my parents at different times and brave the animosity. The scars on my leg remind me of my own ingenuity in a time when I was simply trying to survive. And it reminds me that there were many times that my younger sister Katie protected me. Kia ora.